Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varishthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayosritva Pranamami Mahormahu. Namasri Atirajaya Vivekananda Sure Satchitsukha Swarupaya Swamini Tapaharini. So Yam, thought that he was an educated person. Yes, he was really educated in the academic sense of the term. So he always used to argue, probably, and he made the mistake of arguing with Sri Ramakrishna. It's about worshipping God with form and without form. Then he said, supposing one believes in God with form, certainly he is not the clay. Then Ramakrishna, why clay? It's an image of spirit. See, this is an idea I had never heard. Perhaps we also have never heard. We all know it's an image. But that image can be infused with spirit. It can become living. It can become vibrant. That was Sri Ramakrishna's worship of the Divine Mother. So many people do Kali Puja. We also do Kali Puja. But the Dakshineswar image, it was not an image for Sri Ramakrishna. It was living. It was full of consciousness. Even while doing puja, he used to place his fingers near her nostrils and feel her breathing. So it was totally different. That's why he says, it is not just clay. Why clay? It is the image of spirit, Chaitanya. So obviously, if you can take your devotion to that level, it's something totally different. That experience is totally different. Obviously, it's going to be quite some time before Yam grasps all these ideas. But initially, he was still arguing that one should, because he could not understand what this image of spirit means. Chaitanyamai. So naturally, it was something very totally new. He said one should explain to those who worship the clay image that it is not God. Then came the hammer blow. Oh, this is the work of you Calcutta people. You have no place to stay for yourself. You are calling Shankara. It's a Bengali proverb. So he said, why do you get headache over it? Even if they make a mistake, will not God understand that they are saying they are calling him only? So actually, these are all something totally new ideas to Yam, new ideas to all of us also. He says, you better try for knowledge and devotion for yourself. Why do you worry about others? And this idea, if God is Sarvabhyapi, if God is the creator, God is the one who is in and through all that, would not God know who is saying what? Who is worshipping in what spirit? At the right time when it is necessary, God himself would reveal himself to those devotees also. So it is not your lookout. You better try for your own spiritual evolution. So probably this is one trait Sri Ramakrishna wanted to remove in Master Mahesh also. Being a schoolmaster, they're always used to teaching others. So Sri Ramakrishna said, you don't worry about others, you rather worry about yourself. Don't busy teaching others when you yourself don't have any knowledge what the name. So he says, I haven't room enough for myself in my bed and I'm inviting my friend to share it with me. I know nothing about God, yet I'm trying to teach others. What a shame. How foolish I am. It is not mathematics or history or literature that one can teach to others. No. The deep mystery of God, what he says appeals to me. So Yam was really given a terrific blow and he was completely crushed. So he understood. Yes, he has spoken the truth. He was used to teaching academic subjects. Now we understand it is not like that. It's a deep mystery of God. That God being without form but full of consciousness, Chaitanya, and all that. This was Yam's first argument with the master, and happily he's lost. So subsequently, not that he always understood or agreed with whatever Thakur said. Even if there is anything, he would pass, he will listen, he will go back, think, ruminate, and then slowly he will come round. And several times he has openly confessed, because you are saying. Because even if he did not understand, he knew this much, that whatever Sri Ramakrishna said was true or correct. This faith he had developed. So even if he didn't understand, he was very clear that he was really listening to the truth only from Sri Ramakrishna. So even this is a great help. Quite often in spiritual life, we may not understand what exactly it is. It may defy our logic, our way of thinking, our way of understanding, because we have not delved deep into all these areas at all. Yet, if that basic faith is there, this is true. It's not clear to me, I'm not able to make out, but certainly this appears to be quite true. So that is why Thakur also often talks about the company of the holy, satsang, sadhusang, etc. Is what they mean. When we hear from such people, when we hear from great sadhakas or realized souls or somebody, that really makes a huge impression. The same words somebody else might say, it will not make any impression at all. One has to be a real sadhaka if you really want to make an impression on anybody else. And such people will never try to make an impression. They will just speak, they will just interact. But by very nature, because they are very sincere practitioners, sadhakas, their words carry weight. So obviously, he understood that whatever Sri Ramakrishna said was true. He knew that if I follow slowly, today or tomorrow, one day, it will be very clear to me and I will not have any problem. So Thakur is telling, you are talking of worshipping the clay image. Even if the image is made of clay, there is need for that sort of worship. God himself has provided different forms of worship. He who is the Lord of the universe has arranged all these forms to suit different men in different stages of knowledge. So Thakur even further comes down. Not only have you to think of the images full of consciousness or Chaitanya or spirit, even for argument's sake, if you accept it as clay image, still there is need for such worships. It's God alone who has provided all these means to satisfy the needs of so many classes of devotees or practitioners. That way this has a meaning. So he says it's all God's play, God's will. He has arranged like that. So one might say that it's a very rudimentary or the beginning, very fundamental form of worship. Yes, it is necessary. See, the Hinduism has such a vast canvas. If everybody is accommodated, from the highest Brahmagyani to the most fundamental or the beginners who are image worshippers, who worship image, who are busy with rituals, yes, slowly they will. So that's why Swamiji also says it's always a journey from lower truth to higher truth and not from error to truth. Everything is accepted under Hinduism. One might say it's all image, it's all rituals, it's all image worship. It has got nothing to do with highest truth and all that. Yes, there is a need for that. Slowly they will understand. Thakur is a very beautiful example. The mother cooks different dishes to suit the stomachs of her different children. Supposing she has 5 children, if there is a fish to cook, she prepares various dishes from it. Pulao, pickled fish, fried fish, and so on, to suit the different tastes and powers of digestion. Very beautiful analogy. The same fish can be cooked in so many ways to suit the capacity to digest and also the power, their strength, the tastes and powers of digestion. Some people see two aspects is bringing in. When something is cooked, first is a question of taste and also the power to digest. So some people, even if they have advanced, for example, Sri realized the highest Brahmagyan, but still he had such a deep love and affection for mother. So the mother, don't give me Brahmagyan and make me a jada. Don't make me bereft of awareness or something like that. Am I behush korona? So he was very clear. I would like to enjoy the company of devotees. I would like to enjoy the Leela of God. So it's not necessarily he does not understand. It's not that he did not understand the years. He had traversed all that, gone to the heights of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, had stayed immersed. But then he came back and he loved this sport, a Leela of God. So the taste is not necessarily the mother cooks all only for the point of view of digestion. Taste also is taken into consideration. Some child might digest everything, but yet a particular taste the child has a liking. So again, depending upon the power of digestion, not all can understand the highest idea of Advaita. We had 3 days of huge, intense Vedanta class here. But some people clearly told, Swamiji is just going above our heads in a sense. Because it is such tough subject, demanding, uncompromising attitude. So obviously, when we see there's a big difference between the way I live and what I hear, obviously that strikes. Something is not so relevant to me, or I can't really make anything out of it. So he says, according to the taste and the power of digestion, the mother prepares different items. Do you understand me? Yam humbly, sir. How, sir, may we fix our minds on God? Now he's coming to the real question. All those things are okay. How can I really fix my mind on God? Repeat God's name and sing His glories and keep holy company, and now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. Thakur knew that he had a taste for non-dual knowledge. He was inclined towards Advaita. But Thakur also knew that intrinsically he is fit for this kind of devotional path. In his trance, he had once seen him in his spiritual realization that he was part of the group of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then accordingly, he knew that he was destined for this kind of a path. See, ultimately, whatever one might like, that's okay. But what is the path of least resistance for us? Ultimately, one has to reach the goal of the highest truth, or the highest knowledge, or whatever it is. But because something apparently seems more to our liking, that may not be the best suited path for us. So here the question of a great guru or somebody, a preceptor or a mentor who can show us, somebody like Sri Ramakrishna, he knew that this is what this person was capable of. So how although he was again and again expressing his preference for the path of non-dual knowledge, the first advice Ramakrishna gives him is, repeat God's name and sing His glories. Sing His glories, keep holy company, and now and then visit God's devotees and holy men. So he was very, very clear. This is the way you should, this is the best way for you to grow in spiritual life. That's why In the Gita, Sri Krishna says, no, Mat chitta mat gata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So, keeping the company of the holy, singing his name, his glories, and visiting God's devotees in holy various ways. How long can one do it all by oneself? So if you go and meet other devotees and be in their company, they again talk of God. Thereby your strength, your love for God is deepened, it's increased. So it clearly says that you please do this. This is the path. See, Holy Mother also sometimes people would come and say, what's your Ishta Devata? Tell me what's your family deity? Say, we are from a Shakta family. The mother will close her eyes and in a minute she will say, no, Shiva is where they say. Something else. And she would initiate. And the person would go back and on deep inquiry find out actually their original family tradition was what the Holy Mother had given. So great spiritual personalities had this power of diving deep and finding out what is your need, which path you should take and all that. The mind cannot dwell on God if it is immersed day and night in worldliness, in worldly duties and responsibilities. It is most necessary to go into solitude now and then and think of God. Slowly Sri Ramakrishna is unbundling one after another. First he said, sing the glories of God, take his name, and then keep his company. Doesn't stop there. He says, it's not possible. If you are day and night immersed in worldliness, obviously if you are in samsara, responsibilities, duties, earning, spending, children, bringing them up, education, and marriage, there were so many involvements in a family life. Then we have to go here, there, meet friends, be part of their functions and so on and so forth. Day and night, if you are busy with that, not only God cannot be kept immersed in all that, there will hardly be any time. Because the whole time is consumed in other activities. So he says it's necessary to go into solitude now and then and think of God so that you are not burdened with other duties at that time. You are at least free for the time when you are not in the company of the worldly people or in the samsara. You can go and spend time like that. To fix the mind on God is very difficult in the beginning unless one practices meditation in solitude. This is a problem for all of us, trying to fix the mind of God, fix on mind on God during our sadhana. Initially, he says it's very difficult. So if you go to solitude and practice meditation, probably some of the external disturbances are not. The differences are of two nature. One is external, another is internal. So under the external disturbance, whatever is happening, you want to sit and meditate, then somebody plays the TV very loudly, or the mobile phone keeps on ringing, or visitors keep on coming. You can't say that don't come, I'm meditating, or something or other constantly. So if you are busy with all that, obviously where is the time? I used to hear when Ranganathanji was giving the Sunday lectures in Delhi Ashrama, it used to be full. They had to extend the auditorium and even people would sit in the lawns. Government offices, those days, it was 10 to 5 kind of a job. So it seems some families, they will leave their house in the morning itself, Sunday morning, maybe by 10 o'clock or so. Go and eat sometime outside, sit in the park or somewhere and come for evening lecture. So that they don't get visitors whom they cannot turn away. They are so fascinated by Maharaj's lectures. So like that, he says, in the beginning, if you go to solitude and practice meditation, because you have nothing else to do. Of course, basically one must have the mind that I want this, I want to do sadhana, I'm sincere, I want to realize God, I want to progress in spiritual life. If that intense aspiration is there, one can go and try in solitude, because there they are bothered so much more by the external disturbances rather than the internal disturbances. Due to maybe they are in a small flat or with 2 rooms or this room or something like that, so that they don't have enough space, they don't have enough privacy, they don't get enough time to sit alone or talk about all that or think about all that. It's okay. In that case, if the disturbance is more external, going to solitude would help. If the disturbance is internal, whether you go to solitude anywhere, it won't matter. It will be equally disturbed outside also. When a tree is young, it should be fenced all around. Otherwise, it may be destroyed by cattle. Because Thakur uses this example under several circumstances to explain some other ideas. Also, he is using this. Here the protection that he talks about is protection from more and more involvement in worldly life, in worldly affairs, in worldly activities. Just like in a young plant, if it is not fenced and protected, it may be destroyed by cattle. Here, the young mind, the aspirant's mind, will be completely consumed by worldly activities and that kind of involvement. So he says, if it is to protect it from all that, is to take it to solitude and allow it to practice meditation, etc. Then he says, to meditate, you should withdraw within yourself or retire to a secluded corner or to the forest. Bone, mone, kone, bole na. Either you can do it in a corner, if it is possible, depending upon the circumstance. In your house, yes, and people will understand there is that kind of freedom, that type of atmosphere. One can have a small place, a corner in a house, there itself one can do. Otherwise, one can retire to a secluded spot or even go to a forest, depending upon one's predilection and the condition in the family. And you should always discriminate between the real and the unreal. God alone is real, the eternal substance. All else is unreal, it is impermanent. By discriminating thus, one should shake off impermanent objects from the mind. So this is a discipline which is advocated practically in all schools. Even when you go to study Vedanta, the first qualification that the teacher demands of the student is Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. The discrimination between the real and the unreal, or the permanent and the impermanent. Here also he says real and unreal. So here what kind of, in the case of a disciple or the student studying pursuing the path of jnana, in that case the discrimination is Brahman alone is real, everything else is unreal. Everything else is to be discarded. Here he says God alone is real, all else is unreal, that is impermanent. So when one is pursuing seriously a spiritual discipline, if one is very sincere to progress in spiritual life, this discrimination is extremely important. To know what is real. Otherwise, how can one progress in spiritual life? Spiritual life, spiritual ideas, spiritual goal, they are all very hazy and unclear. We talk of something which is not really clear to us. Whereas in our worldly experience, everything is very clear to us because we experience everything through our senses. It's all very clear. But in the case of any spiritual truth or a spiritual goal, all that is very hazy and not at all very clear to us. We try to understand more and more by listening to talks or reading such books and all that. So one of the ways is because the mind is so cluttered with worldly objects, worldly thinking, worldly initiatives, worldly behavior and all that, there's hardly any space or time for other kinds of knowledge or other kinds of inputs. So to guard the mind, to cleanse the mind actually, it's a purification, process of purification. By constantly doing this discrimination between the real and the unreal. Because why should one take interest in spiritual life? What exactly is that? When compared to the earthly life or the life in the samsara in the world, here everything is perishable. Everything would die after some time. Everything would vanish. Everything is unreal. So what is the point in pursuing it? Why should we pursue a spiritual life at all? If what we do in this world is okay, if it is fine, there is no need for God. There is no need for any spiritual life. But invariably, everyone, wherever one might be, however rich one might be, however young one might be, however other possessions one might have, at one point of time, everyone clearly realizes is all fleeting. Either they get their own direct experience, they suffer, they get blows, or they see others, or over a period of time, the interest vanishes. They find that what is this day and night, doing the same thing, day after day, what is there in it? After some time, it's all going to go away. Our Swamiji was in his retreat class, he was saying, what have we done? We were showing those mountains. You see, mountains of rice we have consumed. Lakes of dal we have consumed. So like that, day and night, just to fatten this body, to maintain it, to really give credence to that, to make it appear real, all that we do. So if one clearly tries to understand, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What is the purpose? Why am I here? If this is all by an endless repetition of useless activities, by feeding this body, by maintaining it, by beautifying it, by doing everything, which is ultimately, one day I am also going to die. What am I going to achieve really this way? If one clearly discriminates, then in the process one clearly understands that all these are all unreal or impermanent. Unreal also may be a little more difficult to understand, but impermanent we can clearly understand. What we possess as something very priceless and wonderful sometimes, some years back, today we can't even look at it. It has become so horrible. Even our own face, our own body, our own beauty, everything. After some time, oh, am I this person who was so and so like that? Everyone used to admire. Today, even I can't even look at myself, let alone others. So everything is like that. Then slowly one understands, is there anything beyond all that? Is it possible? Then through knowledge of scriptures, by coming in contact with great personalities or great lives and great truths, one tries to easily understand, yes, it is possible, there is something. If you intensify your effort in that direction, then slowly one might get that light ultimately. Obviously, M is asking, how ought we to live in the world? He has a family, he has children, he has wife, he has to look after them. There's no other earning member in the house. But as Ramcha says, everything is unreal, is impermanent, and he should seek only God. Then how should he live in the world? A very genuine question. Then Ramcha gives a very beautiful answer. Do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. Live with all, with wife, with children, father and mother, and serve them. Treat them as if they were very dear to you, but know in your heart of hearts, they do not belong to you. Of course, very difficult to practice maybe, but Thakur clearly says, he does not say that give up all of them and go into the forest, retire or do anything like that. He clearly says that you live with all of them, serve them, love them, treat them as they are very dear to you. But know in your heart of hearts, they do not belong to you. A wonderful prescription. See, he does not say, even externally show any disinclination or dislike or anything towards them. Shower them with love. Do everything. But in your heart, you know for certain that they are not your own. It's very beautiful, very wonderful spiritual discipline. So you don't show any kind of remorse, any dislike or anything like that. Treat them very well. But inwardly you realize that they're all, none of them is my own. It's true. Because who is going to, some many stories, here later on it comes, a disciple tells his guru, oh, they're all my relatives, they love me very dearly. Oh, is it so? You come, I'm giving you a medicine. If you take it, it would appear that you are dead. Then you will see. He goes, takes his medicine, then he appears absolutely dead. Then the Guru comes and says that, oh, acha, he is dead. I can give you a medicine. But if you take this medicine, that person would die, but then he would become alive. Who is ready? Each one gives an extra. Even his old mother. She says, no. How can he go now? All these people are there. Wife says, such young children, I cannot go with them. Anyway, he is already gone. So they have already written him off. So then, by the time, the effect of that medicine has worn off, and he gets up, oh, this is your nature. I thought you all love me. And he walked away with his Guru. Very, very interesting story, but very true. Really, if you analyze very deeply, no one is our own in that sense. All are. There is a make good relationship. Externally we say these, that, everything. But in the core, we all know that none of them is really. Because even after the greatest of tragedies, 1 month, 2 months, in some cases maybe it's 1 year, 2 years, life goes on. Life doesn't stop. You have seen in Corona, very young husbands, young wives, young mothers, young fathers, so many have died. But the world has not stopped. It's going on. We get adjusted to the new ways. Some people behave totally differently. They start a new life, totally live differently. It is also happening. But even otherwise, life goes on. So nothing would change. Really, in that sense, nobody is one soul. Then Sri Ramakrishna gives a most wonderful example. A maid servant in the house of a rich man performs all the household duties, but her thoughts are fixed on her own home in her native village. She brings up her master's children as if they were her own. She even speaks of them as my Rama or my Hari, but in her own mind, she knows very well that do not belong to her at all. A classic example, beautiful example. We have seen, all of you, most of you must be having some maid or other in your house. Sometimes, the children are so attached to them. When they grow up, they remember their maids much more than even their parents. Because they had cared so much for them and they are so dear to those children. Those maids used to love them like anything. Just as is my Hari, my Ram, my everything. So, that is, she loves them so much. But in the heart of hearts, she knows that they are not her own. Her mind is in her own home in the village where her children are living. What is his example here? When she treats the children of the master with so much of love and affection, is it hypocritical or artificial, anything? No. There's a genuine love. She loves them. She does everything for them. But why is she there? It's because she has to feed her children back home. If the very next day, if some other house offers maybe 500 rupees more, all her Ram, Hari, etc. would vanish and she would go away. So although there is externally, there's a great bonding, love, affection, etc., it is so temporary because the very purpose of her staying here is to make a living, to earn some money so that she could support or feed her children back home. So a little extra somewhere, all the affection, all the love, all my Rama, my Hari, all vanishes and she goes away. Not only that, supposing in this very house, she breaks something very precious, whether it's a Belgium glass or some Japanese flower vase or something like that. The very moment she knows that she will be chucked out. She might say, oh, I love my Ram and Hari so much, I can't live without them. Hari, you go somewhere else. We don't want you. So she knows that this life is so insecure, so impermanent. I may love the children so much, but if I do something which does not satisfy the master, in the very next moment I may be sent away. All my caring for children, etc., would come to nothing. So she knows this is a condition. Now the real issue here is, although she moves here, she talks, she behaves, she handles them, she does everything for them, the master might even leave the keys, etc., and go, But yet she knows that the whole thing is completely impermanent, transitory. This can break anytime. This can come to a grinding halt anytime. This whole relationship can collapse. So, because of this knowledge, this awareness, this totally transitory and impermanent, there is a sense of detachment and vairagya in our heart. In our case, although, see, this example is very easy, which Ramakrishna says, but why we are not able to follow it? Because in our case, the world is absolutely real for us. There's nothing unreal in this world for us. Whereas in our small little world, this maidservant knows that it's impermanent. The job can go any moment. So although she is deeply attached, there's a deep underlying sense of vairagya, detachment in our heart. Whereas in all our dealings in this world, we are totally attached. We know that everything is real. We may read in the books, but we know it's all very real. That's why the show goes on. If you feel it is unreal, it will be very difficult for us to participate so vibrantly in the world. If you find people, some people are like that, either due to severe setbacks or tragedies or whatever it is, or because of sadhana over a period of years, they slowly develop some kind of vairagya. If they develop, they can no longer participate so vibrantly. You can clearly see the difference of people, the way they eat, they go out, the boisterous way people behave, go to the restaurant, go somewhere. Many people go, you also go and eat. But you see some people, what is there to make so much noise? What is there to participate so much? What is there in it? Because you are exposed to something else, you have heard even something a little, so that amount, a small amount of vairagya has got into your heart. If it is become bigger, if it becomes more permanent, either due to effort or due to study or due to something happening in life, okay, kuch to lena hai. You have to eat something, let us be done with it. That doesn't mean that you will not do anything, you will not participate. That tremendous, that enthusiasm, zeal, vibrancy with which we used to do some years ago, that would go in. That's the sign of vairagya. So in the world, if whatever we do, every day we get up, from morning, some houses you'll feel, the moment a meal is finished, what is to be done in the next meal, where to go next, this is the only topic, then you can never think of all that. But you know, it's all right. Something has to be done, we'll do it. Doesn't matter. Be done with it. We have other things to do. When the importance in the worldly activities we participate day in and day out, they become lesser and lesser important to us, you can understand that you are turning towards God. So in this case, because everything is so real to us, we are not able to replicate this example which Sri Ramakrishna has given us. Not only that, first of all, the world is unreal to her. The world in which this maidservant is functioning, that to some extent is unreal to her. And in our case, is directly opposite. At the same time, her own children in the village. Does anyone have to tell her, no, they are your children, you have to care for them, they are really your own? Does anyone have to tell her? She spontaneously knows that they are her own. They are her dear. They are her dearest. They are everything for her. In our case, what Thakur says is, keep your mind on God and do everything in the world. How can we keep our mind on God? God himself is so alien to us. What is our relationship with God? Is God real to us in any sense? This maidservant, whatever is back home in her village, everything is absolutely real to her. She hasn't got even an iota of doubt as to what is there in the village. They are all her own children, her dear children. They may not be good in studies or academics, they may not be good looking or whatever it is. She knows they are her dearest of the dear. They are her very own. Whereas these children, however much they may give gifts, this, everything and all that, she knows that this relationship is impermanent. Whereas in our case, our relationship with the world is very permanent, very alluring, very strong. Whereas our relationship with God or the ultimate is very hazy. Nothing is clear. That is why if this is to be adopted, most importantly, some dispassion, some disinterestedness. The world should no longer look so alluring to us. If that happens, yes, there are traces of Vairagya. And not only that, what is some kind of a real relationship with God or the ultimate, in some way or other. In how do we consider Thakur? How do we consider Ma? How do we consider our own Ishta Devata? In what way Thakur or Ma are they dear to us? What is our relationship? So some kind of relationship it can be really built, and on that we can build the superstructure. So because these elements are absent, although this example which Ramkrishna gives is extremely easy to understand and seems very, very good and one can practice, we are not able to practice this at all because it is so difficult. Because it doesn't tally with our experience. Our attachment to the world is really strong and permanent. Then Tagore gives another example. He gives more and more examples to drive home the point. The tortoise moves about in the water, but can you guess where her thoughts are? There on the bank where her eggs are lying. Do all your duties in the world, but keep your mind on God. Again, the same problem. The eggs on the bank, they are so precious to the tortoise. She knows her own offsprings are going to come out of that. Obviously, her mind is there. Because it is precious, it is real. But Thakur says to keep your mind on God. How do we keep our mind on God when it is not so important or so relevant or so clear or so transparent to us? See, it's only a make-believe relationship. The relationship which we have with Thakur Man Swami. It's something we have. It's a fostered relationship. It's a make-good relationship. It's not real absolutely. Obviously, these examples are not really striking to us. Although it's very relevant and very beautifully put. She may be swimming. For her to survive, she is in the water. But she has kept her eggs on the banks. She knows that they are so precious because her offsprings are all there in those eggs. So, relationship is so different. If you enter the world without first cultivating love for God, you'll be entangled more and more. You'll be overwhelmed with its danger, its grief, its sorrows. And the more you think of worldly things, the more you'll be attached to them. Of course, how it is possible? How can one enter the world after cultivating love for God? Even after struggling for so many years, living for so many years, we are not able to cultivate love of God. We entered the world, we don't know how. Somehow we have come due to our samskaras, our past birth, or whatever it is. But what he says is, entering the world in the sense, before undertaking such activities, before becoming really involved in the world, even if you have to, it's most important to protect ourselves, one should develop some kind of love of God. Otherwise, it's possible that one can be completely swept away by the allurements, entangled more and more. Naturally, these are the things, danger, grief, sorrows, all these are all plenty in the world. The more you think of worldly things, the more you'll be attached to them. Dhyayate vashayan pumsaha sankasteshu upajayate. Gita says, Sanghat sanjayate kama kamat krodho vijayate. First rub your hands with oil and then break open the jackfruit. Otherwise, they will be smeared with its sticky milk. First secure the oil of divine love and then set your hands to the duties of the world. I do not know how it is. Thakur is saying, of course, wonderful, but it's very difficult. Very difficult. Because by the time we even hear here and there easily about God, we are fully entangled, fully involved. You have already attempted to break open the jackfruit without applying any oil. It's all smeared. Now we have to do the other process. How all that has been removed, how we can clean our hands. So obviously, this does not appeal to, it doesn't apply to ordinary mortals like us because we are already deeply involved in the world. But here Thakur says that even if you have to perform any duties, that's why, you see, from a young age, even from a very young age, if you cultivate love of God, practice of certain disciplines, sadhanas, certain routines and all that, slowly one's mind would be at least partly on God and such things. Our samskaras would save us, our practicer would save us, our nishtha would save us, our abhyasa would save us, somewhere or other. And then as we grow, what Thakur says is, to start with, you are not fully involved in the world. It's not from the time we are born. Slowly, as we grow up, only the responsibilities and worldly engagements come. But if you are given that such samskaras even from our young age, our parents and others, if you are brought up that way, it's possible that you would have developed such samskaras, such liking for spiritual practices, or even sutrapat, chanting, these, that, whatever we do, japa, meditation, even at a young age, as we grow, even if you have to enter the world, if you have to discharge duty in the world, it's possible to protect ourselves to a certain extent. Otherwise, we'll be completely caught in the meshes of this maya and drowned. So he says, first secure the oil of divine love and then set your hands to the duties of the world. Once you have that, it will no longer stick to your hands because you've already applied something to prevent that sticky milk spoiling your hands. Because even before you enter the world, you are not going to enter 100% into it because you are already trained, already set your minds on something else. You are participating, no doubt, due to circumstances, due to whatever it is. But then it's not that you are to some extent already protected. So it's very necessary to develop all this even from a very young age. Otherwise, after some time, we find that it's very, very difficult to stay away from all that. One might listen, one might go to an ashrama, we might get initiated and all that. But essentially, unless this kind of samskaras are in us at a later age, or one has really grown up, when they are fully grown up ideas and tendencies and all that, it's becoming more and more difficult to turn to spiritual life. So we'll stop here. We can have one or two questions because though I am leaving tomorrow early morning 5 o'clock, I have to leave for Ranchi and I have more work, office work to do right after this. So we will stop here. But then of course if you have questions, you can certainly ask one or two questions. And then, okay, Juma? Huh? Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.